I run into you a lot, man. So how you doing? Good to see you.
Very nice to see you. Congrats on this series. I'm 4 episodes in, and the best compliment I can give you is that I do a lot of interviews, and
Mm.
sometimes I don't continue a series after some episodes, but I am going to finish this season because it was real good.
Nice, solid.
That's the no bullshit answer. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious where it goes, and I want to see you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, So I got a bunch of questions for you, and like a wide variety. So let's jump in. What the hell has the last year or two been like for you? Because I remember when you started with like Ingrid Goes West, and you know you're just hoping to get a little heat, do a little acting, and now you're like jumping from cool project to cool project.
Yeah, it's really been a fun ride. It's had its difficult days. People don't realize that, when you're an actor and you rap, you're unemployed for the first couple of weeks, and you're kind of just waiting for the next thing. But it's just about being smart and I've been lucky to have a bunch of passion projects reach out to me. From of course starting off with a passion project was Straight Outta Compton, but every role that I wanted to take after that was just to show versatility, and I wanted it to be different from the last, and that blessed me with Godzilla. I got to nerd out on Kenobi recently, and so like yeah, it's been a blessing, and it's just about keeping your head down and pushing forward, and you'll end up where you're supposed to be.
If someone has never seen anything that you've done, what do you want them to start with?
Ooh, I mean, Straight Outta Compton will always have that place in my heart because literally without the events of that movie, I don't exist. So like, it's key part in my life. So yeah, obviously, but I think it's still Ingrid Goes West. Ingrid Goes West, it's still just such a it holds a place in my heart because that was my first step on my own. That was my first one of like, all right, we need to make the decision of like, are we gonna do this? What type of actor are we gonna be? And stepping out, showing people that I wasn't a one-trick pony, and really standing on my own. So Ingrid Goes West, that's fun. Long shot will be another good one. We me and Seth, that dynamic duo needs to happen again. And yeah, it really Swagger has pulled a lot of emotions out of me where I'm starting to look at my career differently, not only as a performer but as a person. The topics that we speak on with Swagger, they hit close to home as well. So I'm hoping that there's not a lot of people who haven't seen my works, but if I had to choose, it'd be those.
Yeah, also Ingrid Goes West is a really good movie. So it's you
Yeah.
know what I mean. When are you? I asked your dad this before, and I've asked you this before. When are you and your dad going to do something together, playing father and son?
He's so busy. I barely know the guy. No, he yeah, we know it has to happen. We know it has to be perfect. I think the biggest thing right now is us figuring out whether it should be comedy or dramatic. It's a rare thing to be able to be on camera sparring with your old man, just like it's just such an amazing opportunity, that we're definitely going to seize that moment. Right now I'm just trying to get my box office numbers up, so
Right,
that way when the project happens they got to pay us both well, and yeah, it'll happen for sure.
right. I also people love seeing your dad yell at people. It's like a thing. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, it's part of his makeup. But what people don't know about my dad is he laughs way more than he yells. The only thing that my dad, I think, seriously yells at on a continuous basis is probably the Raiders and the organization in general. But other than that, yeah, my dad, he loves to laugh. He just loves to have a good time. He he's great. He tells jokes like every time we speak. Like, it's just he loves to have a good time. And that's the dad I know. People say I'm Ice Cube's son, but like Ice Cube is his own thing. O'Shea Jackson is my dad, and O'Shea Jackson likes to laugh.
I totally get it. Last time I saw you, you had some cool sports memorabilia. I know you're into that. What have you recently bought for yourself or been given?
Um I bought myself a I bought myself a 2020 Los Angeles Lakers championship ring because I played too. I give my all to that team, and I felt like I deserved it. Shout out to Jeannie, and I also bought myself a Dodgers ring too, just to remind people that Los Angeles was in charge of sports during the pandemic.
First of all, I'm riddled, just riddled with envy. And second of all, I don't even want to know what those things cost. Like
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
yeah, that's why I gotta keep working, trying to get that Swagger season 2, baby.
I have a lot of questions for Swagger, and we're about to get there. But I am curious: are you? What's the story with Den of Thieves 2? Is that actually happening?
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. I've already started prepping for it. I was just in Ireland filming Cocaine Bear, greatest title ever. But yeah, I was in Ireland and they got me a trainer. Lost 15 pounds in 28 days. So, we're on pace for next year for me to be right. Get my superhero body, so when you got the right shape, your numbers go up too. So, I'm gonna be all right.
So, so you've read the script. Like this is really going.
Oh yeah, it's going down. It's yeah, Christian Den of Thieves was Christian's baby, and I don't think Christian Gudegas, the director and creator of Den of Thieves, I don't think he knew that it was going to become what it is. You hope that, but now we're going into a sequel, and he knows that he has to give the people what they want. So we'll see. I can't wait for people to see what he has me doing.
Hence the reason you have a trainer.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, congrats on that. That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing it. Jumping into Swagger, how did you actually get involved in this project? Can you sort of talk about the genesis, how it came together for you?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I was supposed to be a different character for Swagger. And I met with Reggie Rock, who was really, just the major piece on why I wanted to do this was just talking with Reggie, hearing what type of a man he was and what he represents as a creator, as an artist. And I really wanted to be a part of Swagger, to be able to work with him. And I was supposed to play this other role, but the agents might have pushed a little too hard, and in some detail, because Apple was like, "Yeah, sorry, bro, we out." So I definitely was heartbroken for a while, and I was actually on the press tour for Long Shot when I got the call. The agents were like, "Hey, guess what? Swagger's back on the table." And I was like, "Well, how is it back? Or was it season 2?" And I was like, "No, a situation happened, and they want to offer you a new role." And when they told me that it was Ike, I knew it was going to be a hand in glove fit because there were so many things that I and the character shared. Before I was an actor, I was coaching my little brother's basketball teams. Ike in the story is about to have his first child, and all the nervousness that goes into, and he has a little girl, and that's the exact same thing I was going through at that time. And so it was really hand in glove, and I knew that when you get a role like that speaks so close to home, all you got to do is breathe into it and let things happen naturally.
Also, you are a sports fanatic, so it's not. I mean, this is like, yeah,
Talking basketball all day, that's easy.
yeah, you know what I mean. What did you actually learn making the series about like youth basketball and what goes on behind the scenes that perhaps you actually didn't know?
I'd always been aware of the shadiness of, when anytime you're dealing with kids and money is involved, it's usually some shady business behind there. And so, I was always aware, but I was excited to be able to kind of put my own stamp on, getting this story out here of what's happening to these kids who stop being looked at as what they are, which is young men and women, and they're looked at as pawns in some situations. Dollar signs. They're bargaining chips. It's shady business, but most businesses are. But nobody at that age, the age that this is happening to these kids, should have to deal with that.
When were you excited or nervous to sign on to something that could go for multiple years?
A little nervous. It's my first time with a series. I needed to know exactly how long I'm signing my life away. It's a real hard question to ask yourself. Also, will Kevin Durant like me because of how obsessed I am with the Lakers? Is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be an issue? Lakers in five, but it's exciting. It calls for new things from my repertoire. It's growing with the character. You always hear about these actors who are on these long series and how much they're attached to their character and watching them grow, watching them make mistakes, watching them triumph. When you do films, you still have that arc, but you get to stretch it over a longer amount of time, and it'll call for some new tools of yours to be sharpened.
Well, I don't know. I would imagine that you were the number one on the call sheet. If not number one, you were number two, depending on the day. I don't
Mhm.
know how it goes, but you are the one that I think the young cast is looking towards for like guidance on how to be when you're on set. Did you sort of take on that responsibility and sort of show a lot of people who maybe haven't done as much work, like this is how you need to do this?
Yeah, you definitely, when you're working with people who are starting their careers, you want to set an example. Now, I never, you can never look at a group and just command yourself. Oh, well, this is how you should do it. I'm the leader, and all that noise. They'll just reject you, especially the my young bit of ruffians that I worked with on this. It's something that they have to see and kind of put you there, and you can't if you're leading by example and you're leading them down the wrong path, you're doing nothing but a disservice to all those who do love the film industry, because there's a lot of talent that we have in this cast, in our young performers, where they could be great. And so you got to start off, if you're going to be great, you got to start it off the right way. And the day before our first day of work together, we lost Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant died literally the day before we started filming. And anybody who knows me knows what type of influence he's had on my life. He was my hero. And, it's hard to do a show surrounded by basketball and not think about Kobe Bryant. And Kobe would always lead by example. First one in, last one out. And you got to be prepared to do the work. Always do the work and don't let anyone outwork you. And that's my Mamba mentality that I tried to bring on set. And losing my hero just fueled that even more.
Yeah, I that was a terrible day, and if I remember correctly, it was a Sunday. It
Yeah.
was it just fucking terrible. Uh, sorry, I'm in my
Yeah.
head thinking
Yeah.
about,
I
you know what
feel
I
you.
mean. So one of the things that I think that this show is really one of the cool things about this show is that it's going to show a lot of young people who are actually playing basketball, like what really goes on behind the scenes without preaching to them. You know what I mean? Like showing the money side, showing the corruption, showing all the BS, if you will. And I guess could you sort of talk about that? That it's hopefully going to be an education for, or for some people, an education on what really goes on.
Yeah, as an actor, you want to be a part of things that motivate. It may motivate you to, do something like speak with loved ones more, or, motivate you enough to where you focus more about your business and what's happening to you, what things to look out for, what red flags to notice. And yes, I hope that Swagger does that, because there's a generation coming out. Athletes are getting better every 4 or 5 years, and the numbers that they get and they produce are getting even bigger. So it is important for people to understand ways to protect themselves. And I hope that Swagger motivates this young generation, what to look out for, who to have in your circle, how tight that circle really needs to be, and just all around building a suit of armor to have for yourself when you deal with the real world out there away from home.
I obviously, as you may or may not know, am a Star Wars fan, and there is no way that I am not going to sit here and ask you a question about Kenobi. But I
Mhm.
know you got to be careful with your answers. I'll just say, were you a Star Wars fan going in? Like, was this one of these things where they called you about Kenobi? You're like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah, I was watching Star Wars before I came down here right now. I'm a real big Star Wars fan, and I had auditioned for Lando for the solo film, and when I didn't get it, it like crushed me. I was like, you know what, I quit. I'm going back to being a writer. Like, I'm done. And I was filming Swagger, and my agents were like, "Yo, um, we need you free in the next 2 days, noon." I'm like, all right, like, just listen. You want to take this meeting. So I took it, and it was Lord Deb. Shout out to Lord Deborah Chow. And yeah, she gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. And it's God, I can't wait to talk about it so bad. I want to talk about it so bad, but I know Mickey probably still has my phone bugged, and I just love my family.
Uh, I really, really cannot wait to talk to you about it. Can
Yeah.
you tease? Were you able to touch and use a lightsaber? Are you allowed to say it?
All I'm gonna say is I really am a fan of Ewan McGregor. That's my boy. And my man Kumail. Kumail is my dog. That's my he was he's Kumail's really been a major motivation for me when it comes to getting in shape for Dinner Thieves 2, because of just how jacked he got
Yep.
for Eternals. And yeah, he's got his line open for me. Any questions that I need. And yeah, he's got an action figure now because he's in the Eternals. And I'm gonna need that. He said he'll give me a good price for it. So we'll see how that
I,
goes.
I got news for you. When you're in Star Wars, most likely you'll also be an action figure. This is something I think you can talk about, though. Um,
Yeah.
they use this really cool technology, the volume, when you're making Star Wars. And I wanted to know, what was your reaction working with the volume technology? What impressed you? What was cool about it?
What's so crazy about the volume is, like, you really forget. Like, after a while, you forget that you're just in this studio. And honestly, the scariest part about it is when they turn it off, because you'll be sitting somewhere, some cave in the middle of whatever. You got background on the volume working around, and it just, you get so engulfed in the scene that when they turn it off and the entire room you're in just goes white. Yeah, it's kind of like a Matrix moment when he visits the architect. It was a crazy experience, and it really would have saved a lot of people back in the day to have that type of technology. I could just imagine, filming on location in these, no disrespect, but these terrible places. So, like, it definitely saved a lot of man hours. It's hard to explain the feeling that it gives you walking in there, the abilities that it brings as filmmakers, what it just gives us so much that normally you'd have to be playing pretend on a green screen, or just, okay, this looks like this, and getting terrible descriptions. And yeah, it's a time saver, it's a lifesaver. And God, somebody please give me more Star Wars jobs.